Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? How the heck are we doing today? What is going on? Hope you're having a amazing and beautiful day today. I thought this would be a fun stream. So, I hope you guys are locked in. I know I am locked in. Let me just say that I hope you guys are all doing well. Happy to see you all. What's going on, Sanguine? What's going on, Raheem? Grimwalker? Oh, I think that was my dog. It sounded like a door opened in my house. I'm the only one home. That's weird. This might be a crazy live stream, I guess, if that ends up being the case. But hope you guys are all doing well. It is Monday, 8:05 p.m., June 2nd, 2025, and we are here to put Somura Seiichi, and I'm sure I will get many comments about how I pronounce it. I'm trying my best. Samura. Somura? Samura. Samura. Like samurai. Samura about to clear? We'll see. You know what? We will see. I did my little notes. I've got my little notes. And I am ready to go when it comes for the best kind of scaling I could possibly put together here. I know a lot of people got a lot of money on Samura, but you know what? I think we're just gonna have to wait and see, because I don't know if it's as easy as some of you guys are gonna think. Let me... Perfect. So, how are you guys, most importantly? That's what's most important. Because, let me tell you something. I thought it would be fun to kind of make the wheel as interesting. You'll notice some of the names, some of the things on here have a little bit of parentheses. Some of them are a little weird. And that's because some characters are from different versions. I've got Naoya with a domain, Naoya without a domain. I've got 3-finger Sukuna, 15-finger Sukuna, Meguna, and Heian Sukuna. There is quite literally an entire Sukuna section of the wheel. And no, Samura I think is going to do pretty well. I think Samura is going to do pretty damn well. Better than a lot of people would think. You know, if you're a big Jujutsu Kaisen fan and you don't know too much about Kagurabachi, the Kagurabachi fans know Samura is cooking. All right, number one fantasy, let us indeed start the party. Thank you so much for being here. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to see you, seriously. Dogs, we got the doggies in attendance as well. We've got Sadie and Harley on deck. So let me go ahead, let me put it to a poll just to get everything started. What do we... Oh, wait. Chat as a subscriber? Why can't I chat as no operator? Hold on. Something went wrong with chat. I gotta log back into my YouTube account. Oro does need her hand to redirect the slashes. If she loses her arm, she also loses her ability to use her domain, since she needs both. Oro is, you know, with the spatial manipulation. You've got Ishigori with the insane cursed energy output. You've got Geto with 100% of his cursed stock. You've even got Teen Gojo. I've got Gojo on there with no infinity, so it's actually a fair fight. I've got end of series Megami having all of his shadows just without Maharaga. Maybe, you know what? Also, yeah, let's make it an even number. Maharaga is probably really good to have on there as well. So I think we've got a really good selection of sorcerers and entities for Samura to try his hand against. I don't have the disaster curses like Jogo or Mahito or anything like that. This is strictly sorcerers right now and what sorcerers can bring to the table. This is if Samura was in the culling games. However, you know, he has a roster of everyone in the entire series. Hey, and a gifted member from #1fan. And Jesse gets the gifted membership. What are the odds of that? We love it. Let's go. The long awaited gifted. That is a beautiful thing. Thank you, some #1fan. I appreciate that. Coming in clutch. You take the anime version of the JJK characters because I think anime Toji is more impressive than manga Toji. I don't necessarily think that, like, I mean, like, you do have, like, the extra scenes and everything like that from anime and manga and everything like that, but, like, I don't think the lightning matters, everything like that. No, I'm so glad that Jessie finally got it. She finally deserves to get the membership. The gifted membership is super duper important. She finally freaking got it. Low-key, Maymay's just going to manipulate his crows to work for her. No, that would be too rough. That'd be too bad. Imagine that, like, Maymay just gains control of the feathers and everything like that. But, alright, I think we are about at 10 minutes. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is we're just going to go ahead and spin this goddamn wheel. Let's not get bogged down. One thing that I do want to put out there before we even begin to roll the wheel is I want to get a clear understanding and explanation and also definition as to where Samura Seiichi stands as a character when it comes to scaling in reference to Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, obviously, most of Kagurabachi's scaling comes from the Sojo lightning blast that Chihiro was able to survive, which was about the size of a city block, and that's how much damage it was able to rip through. Chihiro was able to survive that blast, which is where a lot of the city block scaling comes from. From there, you do have a large amount of feats specifically from Samura that imply that Samura would be significantly higher than City Block. At minimum, he's probably multiple City Block. I mean, you've got his Seitei War feats, which the painter describes. The Phoenix Fire was able to cover the entire battlefield, and that's where his painting comes from. We already know Samura is the strongest one of the enchanted blade wielders, besides, of course, the Sword Saint with the Shinichi. And the big feat that everyone loves to mention when it comes to Samura is his ability to extend his owl across all of the country. He was even able to block off the snow and block off the weather from the country itself. Now, it is important to mention that the owl is mostly detection, and he is able to appear as the feathers can drop down from wherever the owl is present from. However, his detection does get weaker the more he spreads his range out. Now, when it was coming to finding Yora, the main leader of the Hashaku, all it took was Samura extending his owl across an entire city, and he was able to keep tabs on the entire Hashaku, specifically Yora, wherever they were at any point in time. Then, when he spreads it out across the entire country, his senses are still strong. He's able to pick up any enchanted blade signature at all if it ever reveals itself. However, that's all he's able to maintain detection over. He's not able to maintain detection over the Hashaku, anything else besides the enchanted blades at that point. So, another thing that I want to point in is a lot of people will give Samura country level attack potential and country level, feats for this, which I just don't necessarily believe that is the case. To be honest with you, Samura is 100% not island level, because we know for a fact that the only person that was strong enough to even be considered island level is the Sword Saint. And even then, you would be pressed to say he's island level because he didn't necessarily destroy an island with his attack potency and destructive capability. Like, at best, the Sword Saint was able to kill all of the life on an island. He was able to reach an entire range of an island, which is impressive. Don't get me wrong. Samura being able to extend to a country is impressive. All of these things are great. But I think when we give characters like Samura country level, island level, all of these things, it's very clear that when it comes to actual combat swinging hands, Samura is very strong, don't get me wrong. In overall attack power, I would probably put him at multi-city block to maybe even the highest rank I'd be willing to give him would be town level. And if that's like peak Samura, if you want to be honest. If you want to wank him all the way to country or island level, you can. I just don't agree with you. That's fine. But if we want to be completely realistic, it has to be probably somewhere. It's definitely higher than City Block. It's definitely higher than what Sojo and Chihiro were doing in the beginning of the series. But I don't know if I would be comfortable calling a character in Kagurabachi town or city level just yet. Most definitely multi-city block is probably what is more comfortable. At least the size of a battlefield. Again, maybe even town level when it comes to some of the characters that require it, we can maybe give him a little bit more. But is everyone fair with that? Is everyone fair with that? I think that's a pretty decent way to go. We've got durability. Now, obviously, Samura's as powerful, if not more so, than Chihiro. He should definitely be able to survive an attack like the giant lightning blast, everything like that. Now, when it comes down to it, we already know that Samura is capable of taking lethal wounds from people that aren't anywhere near City Block Plus, or higher than that level, when he dies to multiple wounds from the zombie warriors that Hirohiko is controlling. Now, again, this is plenty of attacks all coming at him at once. But, I mean, just like Chihiro, Samura's main key to surviving those stronger attacks is definitely going to be Nishiki Cloak. And Samura has Suzaku. When Chihiro gets hit by the lightning blast, he uses Nishiki Cloak and the 3 times buff from Nishiki to heighten his durability to survive an attack of that level. Samura would be able to do the same thing with Suzaku. He would, heal himself from the damage to keep himself surviving it. I mean, we know he was able to survive the 7th month Twilight Wave that Kuguri released, which obliterated pretty much a large section of an entire pagoda. Now, that Suzaku isn't endless. It's not, unlimited. It does cost massive amounts of spirit energy, and Samura can probably be brought back from the dead. Definitely more than once, twice, 3 times. It's not infinite. It really does cost a hefty amount. So, as far as durability, it's definitely safe to say he's at least higher than City Block. Maybe even higher than that. But again, he can be worn down. We know that with smaller attacks that aren't necessarily packing that same power. Speed is obviously, most Kagurabachi, it's pretty accepted that Kagurabachi is about lightning speed. It was pretty clear that, through Chihiro's fight with Sojo, the most base characters that are Enchanted Blade level are going to be moving at or around, maybe lower than or higher than lightning speed, depending on the character we're talking about. Again, Samura is moving faster than Chihiro can even handle at this point, so it's safe to say that Samura is reaching this lightning speed. If not, if you want to include EIY Purity style, he might even be faster than that. With Tobimune, this all gets even crazier because when you consider that he can use the ability Crow to instantly swap with any of the feathers he has anywhere over the battlefield in any other areas, it's kind of similar to like a Gojo Blue where it's not teleportation, it's so instantaneous that it appears like teleportation, but it's really just extreme speed mobility where they swap locations. You could definitely argue that that even increases his lightning time way higher than that as long as there are feathers in the area. Now, he can also drop these feathers from the... He can also drop these feathers from the sky, from his owl, if he's covering a large section of the area, so that's really important to mention as well. Either way, I don't know exactly where his instantaneous teleportation would put him. I would definitely not be like, oh, Somura is speed of light. I mean, but you could argue that if he's probably at the upper echelons of lightning time, massively hypersonic, if not even higher than that. And you know, starting to bridge the gap of Kagurabachi into sub-relativistic, but I don't want to get into that. I wouldn't want to call that because, I don't want to go too high for Somura. Esoteric Dichotomy, thank you for the $2 dono. Thank you for the love. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And then obviously, you know, Somura is a war veteran. He was able to single-handedly solo huge amounts of Daten Seki natives that were able to use the crystals and its power way on a higher level than any of these zombies are that he no-diffs, right? Somura can fly too, it's important to mention as well. He can cover entire battlefields with his Phoenix Fire. The Phoenix Fire is able to be offensive to enemies, but it can also heal not just people around him, also heal structures and put them back together. It also is able to heal himself, as we talked about. He's a combat master. He's able to even outsmart the Masumi, stuff like that. Despite being blind, he uses echolocation, and he does have a significant amount of stamina, being a war veteran. Although, again, if he's using Suzaku in a tough battle of attrition, he will start to lose, you know, spirit. However, on a sorcerer side, if they're using reverse curse technique, the same is said for them. So, I think I've covered mostly everything that I really need to cover. If anybody has anything maybe that I missed and they want to throw in there, definitely let me know. But I think as long as we are all on the same page of where Somura stands here, we can then move into start spinning the wheel and seeing how he handles a lot of these characters. Because again, I don't want there to be any like wanking or anything serious. I think it's very important to realize where we're putting this character when he goes up against some of these characters. So, finally, now that yap session is all done, let's spin the goddamn wheel and get this character's first matchup in the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. Somura enters the culling game and enters the Jujutsu Kaisen gauntlet. Who is the first character that he goes up against? The tension is killing me. Not Takaba. Oh no. Oh, Yorozu. Okay. Well, that's a tough fucking matchup right from the get-go. He couldn't have gotten someone easy. He couldn't have gotten someone that like at least was like a warm-up battle. He gets someone that's easily able to throw hands with 15-finger Sukuna of all people. So, Yorozu as a character, right? Where exactly would she sit in the grand scheme of things, I wonder? Because Yorozu is able to throw hands with a 15-finger Sukuna and also put him on the back end and do damage against him. So, if Yorozu is able to reach 15-finger Sukuna level, it's safe to say that she should be somewhere around his same attack potency and power. 15-finger Sukuna was able to launch that humongous crater in the entire area of Shibuya and almost wipe a large section of Shibuya off of the map. Off of the map. So, I'm trying to find a picture of Yorozu, and I'm struggling for some reason. There we go. She also has construction, which construction is a very fucking handy ability. An insanely handy ability under her weight. The fact that she basically is literally using like iron sand from Naruto, where she's able to construct different weapons, use it as like tendrils, and use it as long range attacks, close range attacks. She's able to, when, you know, fully maximizing herself against Sukuna, she's able to completely surround him in her fucking, in her creations. And then when that doesn't work, she's able to use her insect armor, and her insect armor was significantly faster than 15 Finger Sukuna, who, it's tough to say exactly where 15 Finger Sukuna would sit on the speed scale. I know a lot of people argue that based off of Sukuna's fight against Kashimo, he's probably somewhere closing in on like lightning time, depending on where you put him. I doubt that I would give Yorozu that lightning time, though. I would probably be safer to say she's on the upper echelon of like hypersonic, maybe even, maybe a little faster than that. Could probably keep up with someone like Yuji, who is also, hypersonic, just based off of Maki's feat against Cursed Naoya, and also being able to match the, catch the gun bullet. So Samura would definitely be way faster than Yorozu. So that's one definite advantage that he has. And he would be probably similar to her level of attack potency. They'd probably be pretty comparable when it comes to strength. The thing is, where Yorozu would be very weak when it comes to being fully exposed and out in the open, one, you have Samura's feathers that are going to give him instantaneous teleportation, on top of the fact that he's already speed blitzing her. Even though he's able to do significant damage to her when she's fully exposed, and could probably kill her in 1 to 2 shots if he gets good hits on her. If Yorozu is able to use insect armor, that would be pretty tough. Pretty much just because her durability does start to rival and maybe even give Samura a tough fight. Obviously, he's still speed blitzing, but Yorozu with the insect armor is going to be much harder for Samura to bring down, and give Yorozu plenty of chances. And then obviously, if Yorozu gets enough of a chance, domain expansion for Samura is probably endgame for him. Yorozu's threefold affliction domain expansion is literally just creating perfect sphere, trapping someone in the domain expansion, and then everything inside the domain expansion just gets wiped. I don't know if Yorozu has reverse curse technique. I'm not sure if she was ever shown to have it. So he can swap out of the barrier with feathers. Now that's important, because I think it's actually interesting that we got someone that was able to use a domain right here, so we can have this discussion. Now I'm willing to default to whatever you guys think, but if we're to go off with the fact that Crow is not teleportation, it is extreme speed mobility, that technically would mean if Samura gets trapped in a domain expansion, he's not able to escape with the feather, because if it's just mobility, then he can't move out of the barrier. If it's teleportation, then yeah, he can just and swap, he's out of the barrier. So I think that's very important that we should actually put that to a poll now. Yeah, that was a bit different when Todo swapped everyone out of Sukuna's domain, because Sukuna's domain has the escape route, whereas Yorozu's domain is going to be a closed barrier. So it's tough. Like I said, I'm going to default to whatever you guys think, but in all of my research that I've done, it doesn't seem like Samura's Crow is teleportation. I'm pretty sure it literally is just they fucking move, they fucking swap places at a very intense speed. I think Yorozu's overhyped. Other than the perfect sphere, Yuki was more impressive. Oh, I completely agree with you. I completely think Yuki was a much better sorcerer than Yorozu all day, every day. I will never call anyone out for going against that. Is Gojo able to teleport out of domains even? Well, that's kind of what it is, Esoteric, is because Gojo's not even realistically teleporting, right? Gojo is just using blue to basically negate the space between him and where he's going to. So even though Gojo is quote unquote warping, what he's really doing is just moving at such a high speed it appears instantaneous. So that's why Gojo can't teleport out of domains, which is what my interpretation was of how Somura's feathers it works the exact same way. It's not outright warp teleportation. It literally is just two things instantaneously swapping places at a very intense speed. But like I said, I'll default to whatever democracy says. You know, I won't be too mad about it. Because if that's the case, then that makes a lot of domains easy pickings for Samura, right? If Samura can just TP out of domains, I mean, a lot of them just don't become problems unless they instantly activate their their guaranteed hit. Like if they're dealing with a Mahito or a Gojo or something, they 0.2 him. And even that, you could argue Samura would be faster. What up, Derek Sluck? We'll have to see. We got 14 votes in the poll. Get your votes in, guys. We got to understand this. We got to figure it out. This is the best time to figure it out right now. We got plenty of other characters with domain expansions to worry about. But that really is what it comes down to, right? Because if Samura is able to teleport out of domains, and that makes most domains useless. Again, unless they're fast enough to catch him. Until the author says otherwise, I said teleportation, fair. I can't argue that. I really can't. Because if that is the case, then Samura 110% wins this without a doubt. I think until further notice, we have to treat Samura teleportation as actual teleportation rather than Gojo's type of teleportation, since he doesn't leave a trail like Shiba. Samura is able to travel great distances extremely quickly with mobility resembling teleportation is how they describe it on the wiki. Yeah, Tiberius, I saw that too. It just depends on if it's actually quote unquote like, where's the chapter where it explains? Where's the chapter where it explains directly, I think is the most important thing. We just got a chapter where it said his 3 abilities outright. So let's check the source material. That's probably the best way to do it. Let's see here. Yep, Hirohiko gets fucking obliterated. Somebody's third power is Suzaku, however, he's already further involved that. And then, alright, so 78, this should include that, right? Nope, maybe not. I thought we had a chapter where they just explained what his abilities were. Maybe I was wrong. Could have sworn I remembered that. Yeah, it just says one of Tobimune's powers is Crow. He can swap locations with any of the dancing flowers. It does, dancing feathers. It doesn't say specifically whether it's teleportation or not. Yeah, it doesn't say. Do you have to break a closed domain to leave it from inside? I'm not sure. I think it's when he chopped Hirohiko's head. That's the page that I was just looking at. Yeah, and it didn't necessarily say. So either way, I don't want to get too bogged down on this. We got 16 votes. We look like teleportation 69%, high speed movement 31%. So look, it's pretty simple. With 69%, teleportation is the winner of the poll. What we'll go for is that's what we'll put on paper. But again, I want to make it very clear that that's not set in stone. We could find out that it's mobility, and if that's the case, then domains are an instant win for Yorozu. Although it's much more specific to where Yorozu has to get a very specific win con, where Samura has much more win cons than Yorozu does. Yorozu needs to be in her insect armor, be able to stall long enough to produce perfect sphere, and then catch Samura in the domain while he's faster. And even if you want to say their speed is equalized, again, Samura is just the has the advantage, especially if we're giving him teleportation over high speed movement. All right, hopefully this score gets better. Has been better than everybody else. We already got Samura at a W, which is not a bad thing. We've already got Samura on a W. Up against Yorozu, one of the stronger characters in the series. Again, this is a character on 15-finger Sukuna level. That's pretty OP. That's a pretty good sign for Samura. I'm not mad at that. Let's see who round 2 goes up against. Let's spin this shit. Can we get 2 wins in a row? I don't think we've ever had a character win two rounds in a row so far on these streams. Up against Mei Mei. So, I think without a doubt, this is an obvious victory. If we're saying that Samura is able to actually defeat someone like Yorozu, Mei Mei shouldn't even be a problem. Mei Mei is going to be speed blitzed. Mei Mei is going to be outplayed when it comes to combat, even though she is a strong combatant who has, maximized her body and physical potential to the fullest. Even if you want to give her the best power she has, she's nowhere near a city block, multi-city block hitter like fucking Yuji or like Toji. She is not hitting that hard. She is definitely higher than building level, but saying Mei Mei's city block is insane. So Mei Mei is massively outmatched. Again, even if you want to give equalized speed, Samura's powers are just an instant W. Mei Mei is going to have a bunch of crows surrounding her. Samura is going to be easily able to throw his own feathers in, confuse her. He can teleport in and out and just attack her in and out. Again, he's already moving at lightning speed, even if you don't, whether you equalize speed or not. So he's always going to be able to move faster, whether he can rely on his own base speed or he can just use Tobimune's crow ability to swap with the feathers. That's an easy W for Samura. Mei Mei is more house level. Yeah, exactly. Not even close. Like I said, city block, multi-city block. That's more like Yuji Toji level characters. Someone like Mei Mei just doesn't stand a chance. Just does not stand a chance. That's an easy W here. Yeah, like I said, if he was putting up a decent fight to the point of victory against Yorozu, a lot of these characters aren't going to be an issue with that, which means this gauntlet might be easier than I thought. This gauntlet might be just the other way around, but maybe we'll get someone with a pretty hard-hitting curse technique. We've got Naoya. We've got Naoya Zenin without the domain. So without domain expansion, which is honestly, Naoya's domain underrated. Naoya's domain might be one of the absolute best in the entire series. It gets often forgotten about, but The fact that once you're in the domain, the moment you move, your body literally just like comes apart. Whew. Now you're gonna start simping for Samura. Yeah, he probably would. He literally probably would. Now, projection sorcery is an issue. Even though Samura is massively outspeeding Naoya, projection sorcery only requires Naoya to tap Samura and have Samura move outside of the scheme of what Naoya is predicting him to do. So as long as Naoya is able to properly time projection sorcery, he can still use it to his advantage. Although I don't believe Naoya is going to be able to do any large enough amount of critical damage to significantly wound Samura and incapacitate him in battle. Even if you want to say, again, we equalize speed here and we put them on a level playing field where Naoya is obviously not getting absolutely overwhelmed and blitzed beyond belief, when it comes to how high the two characters are swinging, Naoya idolized Toji for a reason. You know, Naoya idolized Toji for his overwhelming attack strength, for his physical prowess. Something that Samura is easily able to replicate. You've got a character that is swinging at the same level as someone like Toji, who's blind. And again, is just potentially even faster than Toji. Although, again, you have people that think Jujutsu Kaisen's upper echelon do reach lightning time. Let's not get into that argument back and forth, because you could honestly look at the series either way. There really are two interpretations of the speed of the series. But regardless, Naoya, when it comes down to it, is before that time, before Jujutsu Kaisen, surpassed him. So that being said, without his domain, Samura is cleaning that up pretty easily. Again, projection sorcery is something that would throw Samura off, especially with the fact that Samura is blind and he relies on echolocation. When Samura is going in for blows, all Naoya needs to do is just like have Samura move in the wrong way, and boom, he's trapped by projection sorcery. The issue is, again, Naoya won't be able to do enough damage. And even if Naoya amps his speed, he's coming nowhere close to Samura's actual, timing. Samura is essentially immortal. As long as he uses the Phoenix ability, he could probably even survive Sukuna's fire arrow with Shrine. It could be the case. It really could be the case that he could survive pretty hefty attacks like that. That's what I mean, where Naoya is not going to be producing enough damage to even put Samura in a lethal situation. He has to use Suzaku. Even if he gets one really good head blow, it's just not going to be enough. And then again, he just has Suzaku, comes back, and then he just mollywops Naoya no problem. So no domain, beat. Now, obviously, when it comes down to it, just because we might as well talk about it now, Naoya with the domain, that could change some things, just because even if you want to give Samura teleportation, if you want to say that he moves at all to activate that teleportation, just by the basis of Naoya's domain expansion, it's completely possible that the moment he goes to teleport, his body literally comes apart. Now, the issue is, if Samura is able to cancel Crow, he cannot die. If Samura can't cancel Crow, it's almost as if Samura literally takes himself out, because he moves so fast and so quickly, his body would literally come apart. You could argue that Samura is able to use Suzaku at that point, even though I would say he'd probably die before his senses and his brain can make that like split-second decision. As soon as because Samura wouldn't understand the domain expansion. Naoya didn't divulge and explain the way that his guaranteed hit worked until after the hit took effect. It's that strong, he doesn't need to show his hand to gain the extra buff from the Binding Vow. The moment Somura goes to move and he doesn't realize what's happening, again, he might just come apart completely before he is even able to activate Suzaku. If you want to argue, sure, he can use Suzaku to that point, he comes back to life. If Somura isn't able to figure out what's happening fast enough, he's just going to get cooked again and again until he runs out of spirit energy. And the problem is, even if Somura does figure out what's going on, what can he do from that point? All Naoya has to do is outlast Somura. Because Naoya can move in the domain, right? Naoya can literally start throwing attacks and make Somura move and start beating on Somura. I think if you give Naoya his domain, even if you want to say Somura is teleporting, I think the near act of activating Crow is going to set him up for failure inside of the domain expansion. The thing is, all to the people that are saying that like Dido survived Naoya's domain, like we have to remember, right, that Dido survived the domain because Maki killed Naoya instantly. Like if Maki didn't infiltrate the domain and kill Naoya, they would have died. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Yeah, no, so yeah, even if you want to say that the feathers are teleportation, if just the nature of activating Crow and swapping with the feather, it would 100% result in Somura making his downfall. Again, if you want to say that he literally warps, like reality warps, I guess you could argue he just gets out of the domain, but it's tough to say. It's tough to say. But yeah, I think Naoya's domain does change a lot in that battle specifically. I think that might actually give Naoya a win condition, but without that, he doesn't have a chance. Somura wins. And it really shows that domain expansions are going to be the only hope a lot of these sorcerers might actually have, because if you don't got a domain and you can't trap Somura inside of it, that's big oof. You've got Inumaki. Look, it's pretty clear. Just like Hirohiko, the moment Inumaki goes to open his mouth, his head is cut and flies off. There is no chance in hell someone like Inumaki in Cursed Speech is doing anything to Somura. Somura was literally able to fight. Somura was literally able to fight while genjutsu'd by Kumayori. No diff. I don't even know why I put that on there. That was stupid to put on there. Okay. We've got Yuta Gojo. This is Yuta in Gojo's body. So it's not fully fledged Gojo. It is Yuta who is just learning how to use things. So for the sake of how this works, we are going to argue. Hold on, where the fuck? I just saved the why isn't I hate when this does this. Hold on. GR QZ, yes. For the sake of this conversation, we're gonna say that Infinity is not on all the time. Now, Somra not being able to bypass Infinity. I'm wondering if there is literally any way that Somra would be able to bypass Infinity. I'm trying to think if there's any kind of wank, but I don't think so. I genuinely don't think there's anything that could possibly be done. Somra with Crow is able to dodge Unlimited Void because Yuta Gojo doesn't have the 0.2 domain expansion. Yuta Gojo is not going to be able to activate domain as fast as Gojo would be. So Samura does actually have a chance of avoiding domain expansion. Obviously, you could argue that he would feel the bloodlust, feel the spark of energy that's coming for him, and he'd go, all right, psh, I'm out of here. It gives Samura the inverted Spear of Heaven. Could the Six Eyes see which feather he would teleport to? Technically speaking, yes, although the issue with that would be is Samura is going to be moving at a much faster pace than Gojo. Now, again, you could argue that Gojo might be reaching close to lightning speed based off of Sukuna and Kashimo's fight. We know Kashimo is able to produce lightning bolts. Hikari was able to dodge the lightning bolt. Maki was able to, you know, move her hands up and take and block a lightning attack from Nue. So there are situations where characters have reacted to lightning in Jujutsu Kaisen. If you want to give them lightning time, the issue is Samura is on the higher end of that lightning time. So Samura is going to be faster than Gojo without a doubt. And considering they both have similar teleportation abilities with Crow and Blue, they're going to be on even playing fields when it comes to actual combat. If Yuta got Gojo's eyes transplanted and Rika ate his body, would be able to use Limitless in his regular body with Copy. That's debatable. I'm not entirely sure if Yuta's body would be able to handle it. Well, with the 6 eyes, you could argue he has the cursed energy efficiency, but I don't think Suzaku's causality manipulation. I think Suzaku is just the ability to heal stuff. If he dodges, then Yuta loses because once the domain ends, he flops over. Yeah, honestly, the thing with Yuta Gojo is even if you want to give Yuta Gojo Infinity, all Summer has to do is outlast the 5 minutes. It's more like Todo than Gojo. I disagree. I argue it's more like Gojo than it is like Todo. But again, until the author says specifically, I could be proven wrong. So that's why I'm saying like there's completely two interpretations to it. You could say that, you know, he completely teleports, or you can say that he, you know, moves like Gojo. Again, either or, a lot of these results still end up being the same. I mean, still, you know, Samura got the W against Naoya, so that's still fine. A point blank red or purple, yeah, that would be tough. However, if you're gonna give him Crow where he can just swap out, Samura is faster. And Yuta does still have the messy cursed energy manipulation too. He hasn't fully mastered it yet, so he's not able to just molly fucking 18,000 purples one after the other after a domain expansion, everything like that. It's still severely tough for him to do, and he also loses time by using his domain expansion on top of that. So if he dodges, yeah, Yuta loses because he'll flop over. Yuta Gojo would essentially have to trap Samura and catch Samura off guard with the Unlimited Void, where Samura wouldn't be able to escape. Because right now with Samura having the higher speed, he definitely has the advantage over Yuta Gojo. Now, obviously, with Blue being taken into account, Samura is going to get pulled into a lot of situations. Yuta Gojo has telekinesis, so he can control the battlefield a little bit more. However, again, Crow is the perfect counter to that, because anytime that Gojo starts to get an advantage with, you know, magnetizing and pulling Somura in, or let's say he's telekinetically throwing a building at Somura can just snap out and change positions with one of his feathers. So even if you want to say that like Somura is faster, sure, but Yuta Gojo can catch him off guard with the Limitless, Somura does still have the advantage when it comes to things like blue. Now red, depending on if you could perfectly time and shoot a red like Gojo does against Somura, where he shoots the red, it spins around the fucking building and then hits Sukuna from behind. Yes, however, the difference there is that like Gojo is, with his own ability, is always going to be much better at using it than someone like Yuta is. We see how Yuta struggles to use the Limitless compared to someone like Gojo who has used it his entire life. What's the span of Crow anyway? I would imagine it's about as far as he can go, where any of his feathers are. Like, he can quite literally expand his owl all the way out across the country and then appear anywhere he needs to. Yeah, he was struggling to aim blue. He was struggling to aim red. So we can't talk about Yuta Gojo like we talk about the way that Gojo was using red and blue. It's pretty much the most basic usage of Limitless you could possibly get. So I think against Yuta Gojo, sure, Somura might not be able to go through infinity. But as long as Somura can survive the 5-minute time span that it takes for Yuta to basically collapse and be unable to control the body because Kenjaku's curse technique gives out, that's a W for Somura. So it's basically just if you believe Somura is able to stall Yuta Gojo out. And again, realistically, the main win cons for Yuta Gojo are going to be hitting a purple, which is a pretty significant blow. A purple could probably reduce Somura down to his lowest point. Suzaku comes in handy, right? Suzaku would be able to heal Somura from a purple. Even a point blank purple, I would argue that Somura might be able to survive if he uses Suzaku to its fullest, but he's not coming out of that with another Suzaku. That is it. That is the only Suzaku he's getting off. Now, if you're telling me he gets hit with a 200% hollow purple, then Somura's cooked in one shot. I'm sorry. I'm going to give Somura getting cooked in one shot here. But I mean, I would even, honestly, I wouldn't even fight too hard if you want to tell me a point blank hollow purple would eliminate Somura in one go. The thing is I really wouldn't. Suzaku is a really good defensive measure because, again, he can just heal completely. But if Hollow Purple is just doing consistent damage over and over and over again to the point that Suzaku can't heal faster than Purple is doing damage, a point blank Purple might be game over. So point blank Purple, and then also if he is able to catch Somura off guard with Unlimited Void, those are Yuta Gojo's only win cons. Somura's is he just has to survive 5 minutes. So, honestly, I'll put this one to a poll because I'm curious what you guys think. Couldn't a point blank red one-shot Maharaga? I guess you could argue a point blank red might be a victory too, but that's also like point blank red with incantation, right? Does Yuta have the Inumaki tape with him? Now, that's an important question that I didn't consider. That's an important question that I did not consider. That is very important. Somura was getting pressed by 10 random fodder while trying to protect his daughter. Well, that's definitely I fully took that into account when we talked about the durability completely. You know what I mean? We already talked about that when we went over how strong his stats were. Somura with Suzaku is able to survive city block to multi-city block attacks for sure. So, but like a point blank purple would be, yikes. Point blank red, questionable. With Suzaku, that might be what I just said about purple might be more accurate towards red. If he's using Suzaku to the maximum to the where he can't use Suzaku anymore, Somura could probably survive a point blank red. Doesn't Crow give him intel to the... No, I don't... Crow definitely doesn't give Somura intel on the opponent's technique. Definitely doesn't give him intel. Let's go, everyone. Definitely go ahead and get your votes in. This is your chance. We got 45 people in chat, only 10 votes. Come on, let your voices be heard. Who do you guys think wins this match? Can Somura survive the 5 minutes with Yuta Gojo? Or does Yuta Gojo win the match? Let me know. Our lives depend on it. Maybe not so much. Maybe it's not that crazy, but damn, Yuta Gojo's coming in with the victory. How long would it take to stun Somura with Unlimited Void, though? I mean, it's not so much how long would it take to stun Somura. The issue is Somura can instantly teleport away from Unlimited Void. And Yuta is not anywhere as fast at activating Unlimited Void as Gojo is. We're talking Gojo who can 0.2 domain expansion. Yuta cannot 0.2 domain. So Somura can 100% move faster than Yuta Gojo can activate Unlimited Void. Yuta Gojo would have to completely catch Somura off guard where he's not able to crow away. And remember, the only reason he got stabbed by all of those zombie Datenseki people were because he was locked in a Genjutsu. If Somura wasn't locked in a Genjutsu, he wouldn't have gotten hit by a single person in the entire Bloodshed Hotel, battle. He's locking weight in the sky for a few days countrywide. Right, but I wouldn't say that like Samura's power alone was literally holding up the weather, right? I think that's a little bit of a exaggeration. I'm definitely willing to give Samura countrywide range, attack range, but that's like arguing that Druve is citywide, attack power just because his domain was able to encompass an entire city, or Druve Lakdawala is also island level because his domain was able to cover an entire island. It's not just because your attack range is that high. I don't think Somura can maximum power throw his fucking blade into the ground and blow up a country. I just don't think that's possible. I definitely think it's important to note for how powerful he is, but I would never give Somura a country level. Like I said, I'm not gonna get bogged down on this. We kind of already talked about his stats. If you guys want to go into more detail with the stats, you guys can definitely go back in the VOD. Yeah, it's like saying Mechamaru's country level. Yeah, I think it's very important. I think it's very important to notate. So at 15 votes right now, we've got Yuta Gojo and at 60%, Somura at 40%. It might just have to go to Yuta Gojo. This might be the first L that Somura has taken. Might be the first L that Somura has taken. I'm gonna give it up to another 30 seconds. Polls are closing in 30 seconds, everyone. Get your votes in. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button as well. Likes help the stream way more than you know. Please hit that like button. Oh, it's getting close again. 17 votes, 53, 47. No way. Everyone, you got to get your votes in. There's 15 seconds left. 15 seconds left, everyone. 53, Yuta Gojo. 47, Somura. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. No more votes are coming in. No one's gonna break the tie. Oh my god. Ah, it's over. It's over, man. That's the game. That's the game. Yuta Gojo coming in 52%, Somra 47%, baby. That's the first L Somra is gonna take. Although I would argue that I could definitely see Somra being able to stall out that 5 minutes. I could definitely see Somra being able to stall out that 5 minutes, but the people have spoken. That's very fair. The people have spoken. Let's see who the next battle goes to. 5 matches down. Let's see if we can get 5 more. Oh, is it going where we hit the Sukuna side? We hit the Sukuna side of the gauntlet. It is Meguna. So we were able to beat Yorozu. Are we able to beat the character that beat Yorozu? So this is a 1-up. This is a 1-up to the gauntlet. So let's get the elephant out of the room here. Mahoraga is obviously going to be one of the biggest struggles that Somra is going to have to deal with. We could argue about how Sukuna and Somra go in hand to hand. We could argue how Sukuna and Somra go when it comes to Somra handling dismantle, not being able to see dismantle. Would Somra be able to see dismantle with echolocation? You know, would it be similar to Maki? Is Somra being faster going to be enough of an advantage for Somra to get enough damage on Sukuna? How does Sukuna's reverse curse technique compare to Somra's Suzaku? How does Sukuna's cursed energy reserves compare to Somra's spiritual energy reserves? All of these things that we could talk about for hours and hours on end. Including, you know, obviously we've got Malevolent Shrine to deal with completely. With there being an open route to escape, Malevolent Shrine is a little bit of an easier domain expansion, which is crazier to say, a little bit of an easier domain expansion for Somra to deal with than other domains, depending on, like I said, where you view the teleportation and the high-speed mobility. Mahoraga. Sukuna being able to partially adapt to everything that Somra is doing the entire time. So you could definitely argue that Somra would be able to produce a very similar attack potency to the fire arrow to Mahoraga. So obviously Somra is going to be able to one-shot Mahoraga if Mahoraga comes out. The issue is, just like we saw in the fight with Meguna and Gojo, Sukuna is a master at being able to not just carry the adaptation burden on himself, but also weave Mahoraga in and out of the battle using his shadows. So even though Somra would be able to get one good, really strong critical strike at Mahoraga and kill him in one big Suzaku blast, it's very clear that Meguna is going to be fighting in a way that doesn't make that easy. You have to remember that Meguna was very easily able to, guys, if you're gonna keep spamming, I'm gonna have to time you out, because you guys are just saying the same thing over and over again. We've moved on. I just want to make it very clear. I'm gonna have to time you out if you guys are just repeating the same thing. So with Meguna, again, being a master at weaving the adaptation in and out with Mahoraga, he was making it hard for Gojo to shoot reds, to shoot a point blank purple at Mahoraga, because not only was he just full on adapting the entire time, you know, again, you've got the bottomless well shadow that is able to sink people inside of it, hide people within. Sukuna can hide inside. He can use Agito and Mahoraga at the same time. So Somura is significantly faster than Meguna, Maharaga, and Agito. So Gojo himself was able to throw hands with Agito, Maharaga, and Sukuna all at once. Take on top of that, you can come back tomorrow, Blitzdrake. You never have anything nice to say. You never have any. You know what? Honestly, you could just take a whole. You could just take a whole monthly break. Honestly, you never have anything nice to say. So just take a breather. It just brings down the vibe. Honestly, I hate to say it. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Meguna, as a whole, is going to be a tough fight for Somura. However, the thing is, when it comes to Somura, I really don't know if Somura really has anything to adapt to for Maharaga. I really just don't know if is like how do you adapt to Crow? How do you adapt to? I guess you could adapt to Suzaku, right? The healing of Suzaku and the burning and the flames of Suzaku, that would really be the biggest thing. The real party starts now. What up, Coconut? Tough but not losing. So let's note win conditions here. Let's note win conditions here. If Meguna is able to adapt to Suzaku, that negates the damage that Suzaku does, and that also negates all the restructuring and healing that Suzaku is able to do for the buildings around. Maharaga is able to just completely nullify that. So Sukuna would be completely nullified and immune to the fire. And if that is the case, then that eliminates a lot of Somura's attack potency. And if it's just Crow and Owl and Somura, all he can do is just teleport, basically it just becomes Somura running away from Sukuna, who at that point, if he adapts with Maharaga, is just in the complete advantage. Even though he's going to be a little bit slower, a pretty decent amount slower, you could argue, than what Somura is able to do. I think Meguna does have a pretty decent amount of win cons, even if you don't include the Maharaga adaptation, because you've got Malevolent Shrine, which is just an easy way for Meguna to keep Somura away from him. Even if you want to give Somura the ability to escape, it's like Malevolent Shrine, if it opens whatsoever, Sukuna can hide in the shadows and open a Malevolent Shrine when Somura least expects it. Can destroy all the feathers in an entire vicinity. Obviously, Somura can always have a feather outside of the 200-meter range. That's important to notate. So Somura can always have an escape out of Malevolent Shrine, so that's not as concrete of a win con. However, Meguna, again, if he's able to last long enough in the fight to get Maharaga to adapt to Suzaku, and eventually he could potentially find it, just like he adapted and found a way to create World Cutting Slash. You can even argue and find a way that Meguna could eventually find a way to cut, Somura through the feathers, or do damage to Somura by hitting the feathers and causing damage to his spiritual energy. Who knows? Obviously now we're getting into headcanon, so I don't want to go that far into it because none of this is true. All of it's just imagination land, and we're all just talking about random shit. So maybe you could say that Maharaga learns to follow the feathers with the adaptation. Maharaga literally learns how to follow the feather to Somura. That would be fucking crazy. Can't Sukuna close his domain if he tries to? Yeah, Sukuna can close his domain if he needs to as well. So Sukuna could change the conditions of his domain to trap Somura in it. However, again, you have the debate of, is Somura teleporting or is he just moving fast? Somura is gonna see the moment his hostile energy activates. Somura is gonna always know where he is. I definitely wouldn't disagree with that. Somura is gonna have, you know, his own sense of being able to fight. This is gonna be a high diff, extreme diff battle, no matter who ends up being the winner. I want to make it very clear. Sukuna does not have any easy way to victory. However, fighting someone that doesn't have like an infinity barrier around them is going to make things way easier. I'm curious what you guys think. Because also on top of this, you also have to remember that Sukuna's got the 10 shadows. He's got rabbit escape to throw on top of the feathers. So let's say, for example, Sukuna adapts to the crow, and Sukuna starts to be able to teleport between every rabbit. So Sukuna can literally spread the rabbits in every location, and then it's just the rabbits and the feathers, and Sukuna and Somura are literally fucking high-speed teleporting across the entire fucking battlefield, throwing hands, and Sukuna can literally follow everywhere Somura goes. Like, again, we're getting into headcanon imagination land, but Mahoraga and like the 10 shadows, you've got Max Elephant for all of the water, Nue and Orochi, you also got Agito for lightning strikes. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. What do you guys think? We'll throw it to a poll. I personally think Meguna has more win cons than Somura does, although Somura does have a pretty good chance of fighting. The issue is Somura killing Sukuna is tough for me to see, because I think Sukuna, when it comes down to it, is able to use reverse curse technique and kill himself much longer than Somura would be able to use Suzaku and keep himself alive for. I think Somura's stamina bar goes out way faster than Meguna's does. Meguna has way too much cursed energy. I think even in a battle of attrition, I think Meguna wins just based off of his high cursed energy. But I'm curious, let's throw it to a poll. Let's see what you guys all think. I'd probably say Meguna wins. Yeah, Somura just has 0 win cons. I completely agree, Jesse. I completely agree. I just don't see there... I just don't see there being a way for it to go down. I don't see Somura being able to muster the power to kill Meguna, especially if you consider that he can just adapt to Suzaku over time. Somura was holding out for 3 days and is still not winning. I mean, that's also Somura doing fuck all for 3 days, right? That's also Somura not doing anything for 3 days. That's Gojo would last infinity long with his own fucking cursed energy if he's not in battle. The only reason Gojo was actually losing cursed energy is because he was using it more than he was regaining it. So Somura would be the exact same thing. In battle, he would be losing energy way more than he would be just chilling, doing nothing, and holding up Owl. Yes, I am gonna post this as a YouTube video. I will post this as a YouTube video for sure. Somura could win with a swarm of crow feathers and a Suzaku sneak, but Sukuna can just heal, and if verse equalization is in play, Sukuna has domain amp and ram deer to just delete crow. Yeah, I think if you want to give Somura a speed blitz and say Somura can just decapitate Sukuna faster than Sukuna can react, you gotta give Sukuna the ability to have one reinforces his neck enough where Somura's sword isn't just gonna fucking one-tap it, right? Because you have to remember, Kusakabe was using a blade, and at best, striking as fast as and strong as he could, he was just barely cutting through Sukuna's flesh. You have to remember that all of these characters are reinforcing their bodies with cursed energy. So it's not so much that like with Hirohiko where Somura just, you know, quick slips through and cuts off his head. You know, Sukuna's durability is going to make him be able to at least. We've even seen in the anime when Maharaga took a blade and went for Sukuna's neck. Sukuna literally created a mouth that caught the fucking blade. And I would imagine Somura's sword isn't going to be any stronger, or maybe it could be stronger, but it's going to be just about as strong, if not a little bit stronger than, you know, Maharaga going full blast. Maharaga, who again is probably also one of the higher attack potency characters in the series. Like, I think when it comes to Somura being able to quick one-tap decapitate Sukuna, it's not that easy. I just don't think it's that easy. I think Sukuna, with his high curse energy reserves, his high levels of reverse curse technique that lasts forever, God forbid if Meguna hits a Black Flash this entire fight, I think Meguna would be able to survive long enough for Maharaga to adapt to Tobimune. Once Meguna adapts to Tobimune, whether it's Suzaku, Crow, or Owl, Owl is probably the least of his worries. Who gives a fuck if Meguna adapts to Owl? But I just think, I think Meguna might be able to. It will eventually be able to overcome the warrior that is Somura. Somura's perception blitzes above Sukuna, so he can't activate anything. I mean, well, the thing is his cursed energy reinforcement is going all of the time. It's not like Meguna needs to reinforce his neck the moment that it happens. His body's always reinforced with cursed energy. And on top of that, yes, Somura is significantly faster than Sukuna, but you also have to remember that Meguna was able to react to Mythical Beast Amber. So it's not like Meguna is like completely getting no diffed by Somura in speed. Somura is faster, yes, but Meguna is a character in Jujutsu Kaisen who at the very least has shown the ability to react to lightning. Lightning strikes, lightning time attacks, everything like that. Meguna is the slower character, but compared to someone like, you know, Naoya, Somura isn't, you know, speed blitzing after images around Meguna. Meguna is going to be able to, like, fucking somewhat keep up. On top of the fact that Maharaga is going to probably help him adapt to keep up with Somura in general. If Maharaga adapts to the speed, we've seen him use Maharaga as a shield before as well. And again, if, let's say, for example, it's even something like, you know, Maharaga or Agito distracts Somura, Sukuna slips out of a shadow from underneath, activates Malevolent Shrine, activates it, and it goes while, like, they're holding Somura down and he can't escape. Like, that would be... There are plenty of options for... There are more win cons for Meguna than there are for Somura. I think that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. And the poll seems to be the case as well. 20 votes. We've got 15% Somura, 85% Meguna. However, I want to make it very, very clear here. Excuse me. He can aim dodge, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the one thing I'll say. How tough is the fight? High, extreme diff, high diff, mid diff, or low diff. How tough is the fight for Meguna? I also want to see that. Let's see what you guys say. Let's put it to the poll. Everyone can see. Looks like we've got 13 votes, 15% extreme diff, high diff 38%. Someone's got low diff, We've got some low diffs here. What up, anime darling? Happy to see you. Hey, on a cabin vacation, let's go, Coconut. I do agree with what people are saying too, where they're saying if Meguna has prep time, he has an even better chance of winning. Yeah, Meguna with the 10 shadows, his domain, yeah. It just slashes Somura's sword hand off. That is also a high possibility as well. That is also an extremely high possibility as well. Yeah, it seems to me that out of 18 votes, yeah, between mid to high diff, I completely agree. Yeah, 44%, 42%, and then we got another low diff coming in. Yeah, I think about mid to high diff, probably closer to the high diff, makes sense. And just to say, like, that's crazy. Crazy to me that, you know, Somura is still putting in the work this high, swinging this high, you know? Good for him. I don't even think losing high diff to Meguna is that sad. That's a pretty decent feat, all things considered, to step into Jujutsu Kaisen unprompted and be able to swing high diff with Meguna. Full Meguna, not even nerfed. Like, we're not taking away his domain. We're not taking away anything. Literally, we're not taking away anything from him. Plus, Kagurabachi's only on chapter 80. That is also a really good thing to mention as well. I didn't even think about that. I'm happy with that. Good for Somura. Meguna is a high diff Elling to Meguna. Meguna is not bad at all. Not a bad way. No matter what happens in the rest of this poll, that's a good feat right there. That's a good feat right there. Does he get the lightning curse tool? No op. Fuck Kamutoke. Even if he gets it, it doesn't make a difference. What a joke of a curse tool. Miguel? All right. Miguel gets cooked. I'm sorry to tell you. What the fuck is Miguel doing, bro? I'll say it now. I think he hard stops the top 5, probably in the verse. That's where his wins become too hard to justify. The rest, he's got a good case in many. Miguel isn't doing anything against my boy. Yeah, he might break dance dodge a couple of swipes and slashes, but he's gonna get fucking chopped and diced. Miguel and Somura honestly become homies and go get a drink. That's Miguel's only chance of winning that battle. Alright, we've got giant fucking mech Kokichi Muta. Which, like, I guess the toughest part for Somura is going to be breaking through the mech. But besides that, I mean, what else is there? Somura about to be Dante versus the Savior. Yo, that's honestly such a good analogy. Like, obviously, Kokichi Muta in the giant ultimate Mechamaru is definitely able to produce insane amounts of cursed energy. The year blasts, the 2-year blast, the 5-year blast are all going to be capable of severely damaging, to critically injuring Somura. Suzaku is definitely a much needed, you know, recovery ability. If Somura was to ever get hit, Suzaku is going to be a big time healer for him. The thing is, if Suzaku is obliterating all of the Bloodshed Hotel, I imagine one good giant Fire Angel blast through Ultimate Mechamaru is going to be enough to just fucking break through him. So yeah, I think the Bloodshed Hotel crumbling and falling apart, Somura could literally break the entire mech and then reassemble it and just be inside the cockpit with Mechamaru and be like, hey, what's going on? And then cut his neck and it's done, bro. Game over. The mech falls to its knees. So yeah, I definitely think that Somura, I mean, he would have to use his max power. He'd have to completely fully unleash the Suzaku blast, but that's about the only kind of accolade I can really give someone like Ultimate Mechamaru. Again, Ultimate Mechamaru can hurt Somura. Is he ever going to be able to hurt Somura? Doubt it. Even Vision Viola, with its like heat-seeking ability, it seems, wouldn't be enough because all Somura has to do is just, you know, teleport somewhere else in Japan. His countrywide range comes in perfect handy for something like that because he can just teleport to a completely different spot where the heat-seeking can't go in. Who said that was Somura's full power? I mean, I guess you could argue, but you get what I mean, right? The maximum power he's shown so far. Again, the one thing that I definitely don't like is I definitely don't like, you know, overwanking characters just because we haven't seen their full power yet either. If there's anything you'll know about me, you know, like when it comes to characters like Chrollo and Yuta, just because they can copy every ability in the series doesn't mean they can use every ability in the series. They just haven't shown that they can use it yet. You know, I'm always going to scale and rank characters based off of what we have already seen them do. I'm not gonna, I don't like giving characters, you know, stuff that we haven't seen them do yet, because then it could just get proven that they don't have that, and then I look like an idiot. I'd rather just go based off of what we know. We should rank them by arc. Sendai Yuta is not Shinjuku Yuta. That's a really good point. Okay, here is a chance to redeem himself. Three Finger Sukuna. Does that make a difference? Is that something that Somura could probably handle? I actually think it is. I actually think that changes a lot. If we're talking it's only Three Finger Sukuna here, that is a significant different beast from Shibuya Incident 15 Finger Sukuna. Yeah, like Jesse said in chat, Three Finger Sukuna is a lot similar to Toji level. So if we're putting Three Finger Sukuna at like a Toji level power, on top of he's got Dismantle, he's got Cleave, and he also has Malevolent Shrine, a much weaker version of Malevolent Shrine. Again, I think it's very clear with things like Crow, with things like Owl giving him his large range, and with things like Suzaku, Somura is swinging way far above someone like Toji with Suzaku, because not only is he reaching that multi-city block, potentially higher than multi-city block attack potency, you know, on his own, add in the flames and the spiritual energy, that's going to add a huge extra secondary property of burns, firepower, and a significantly larger amount of damage that Sukuna has to handle. Even though Sukuna will have reverse curse technique, I think Three Finger Sukuna is on a much closer level of stock of energy to Somura than someone like Meguna, who has all of his fingers at his disposal and has so much curse energy, he can domain about 3 times before he has to copy Gojo and do the brain break to reset his curse technique. Like, don't get me wrong, this isn't going to be an easy battle. Three Finger Sukuna is still extremely fast, extremely powerful, but he's not hitting at the same wavelength as Meguna. He's not moving at the same wavelength, and his techniques definitely aren't as hard to deal with. And also, Sukuna's not going to have Maharaga, so Suzaku will remain a threat. Suzaku will remain a threat and can't get nullified throughout the course of the series. Without the course of the battle, I should say. So this means that Suzaku can repeatedly heal Somura, Suzaku can repeatedly damage Sukuna, and give Somura a crow. He can teleport around the place, do strong damage with Suzaku, and keep up, and keep out of Malevolent Shrine's range. I completely agree that Sukuna can still kill Somura if he's not careful. Three Finger Sukuna is not an easy enemy at all, by any means whatsoever. Dismantle is still dangerous to Somura. A stray dismantle, if not properly dodged or deflected, is still capable of probably decapitating Somura. Somura, with his echolocation and the way that he senses bloodlust, the way that he senses just plain fighting spirit and kind of works off of all of that, I would even argue you could say Somura might be able to even sense dismantle coming for him. Although you could say that because it's an invisible slash, maybe he can't. I don't want to give Somura abilities and senses and perception that he does not have and has not shown to have. However, I think with the spark of cursed energy, the spark of Jujutsu that we know exists, Somura would be able to detect the spark of Jujutsu coming from Sukuna when he summoned Malevolent Shrine. So as long as Somura is able to escape Malevolent Shrine fast enough, which with Crow and his lightning time speed, he should be more than capable of doing that. I definitely think that Somura can escape Malevolent Shrine. He can keep up with Three Finger Sukuna. Hopefully he should be able to dodge the dismantles, and even if he can't, Suzaku is a good way for Somura to heal himself. And as long as Somura can decapitate Sukuna, then he can win. Sukuna doesn't have his massive amount of curse energy stock, and even though Sukuna can reverse curse technique if he gets his limbs cut off or takes significant damage from Suzaku, his stock is nowhere near the same amount, and he is much more easily capable of being decapitated at Three Fingers than he is at 15 or 20. That is for sure. Hi, welcome home. Is mommy home? Yeah, go say hi to mommy. Say free me from the prison. Get me out of here. Say he won't shut up. He just keeps talking. I'm good. I had dinner. Thank you. Go with mommy. Go ahead. Go with mommy so we can shut the door. Oh, I love you. You don't have, you can, I know you still love me. Go hang out with mommy. Love you. They said hi. She says hi. They wouldn't survive. Sukuna can slash the feathers. They wouldn't survive in the domain. We see Sukuna shred birds. No, 110%. The feathers are definitely gonna get fucking cooked. The issue is Somura's range way gives him the advantage in this, because as long as Somura has Owl active, which we know Somura can use Countrywide Owl, and even if that is costing too much energy where Somura has to lower the Owl like he did in Bloodshot Hotel where he has to disperse the Owl, Somura can still use Citywide Owl to lessen the burden on his spiritual energy and fight while he has the Citywide Owl. If he has Citywide Owl, he can pretty much just summon a feather outside of the 200-meter range and dip out of the Malevolent Shrine. So Yeah, I think it's still a worry. I agree with you, Tiberius, where it is a significantly still a hard fight because Somra is still at threat of dying. Three Finger Sukuna is still able to fuck this man up. Bro, I'm spinning on it for Somra. You're crazy right now. Crazy. I don't know. I think we're just going based off everything that we've seen. Oh, not me. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I was like, I feel like I'm trying to be as fair as possible. Guys, be nice to each other. Be nice. It's all fun and games. But yeah, I think Somra definitely wins this. It's a very tough fight. Very, very tough fight indeed. This is probably the closest W that he gets. And just to be and just to explain it, Truck-kun, the two L's were Yuta in Gojo's body, which honestly I would even that was won by a that was an L by Democracy. I personally think that Somra could beat Yuta Gojo because he just has to last longer than Yuta's Kenjaku curse technique can. And Meguna was the second loss. These past few chapters, Blue Kagurapachi passed that Shibuya Cap had previously. Very true. Exactly. No one's arguing, just this discussion. Just a discussion indeed. Just a discussion, a friendly debate. You know, just keep it nice. I mean, Wade King, it seems like you're arguing that the feather is a sentient being that can sense and move out of the way of a Sukuna dismantle, which I just don't know. I don't know if that has any kind of logic behind it. However, you are free to have that opinion if you want. I'm just saying this is what I'm seeing from the outside looking in. All right. We've got 7 wins and 2 losses. We've got one more spin on this wheel. And I'll be completely honest with you. If it's someone that's that's honestly not even a discussion, I'm just gonna keep it pushing. For the final battle that Somra has, I at least want to have it be someone that actually gives him a challenge. I don't want it to just be a no diff. All right, he wins. Bing bang boom. He already got the overwhelming majority. He's got 7 wins and 2 losses. Even if this next one is a loss for him, he's still going to end up coming out better than every other character that we've done these gauntlets for. But still, I definitely want to have a good discussion because so far, like Jesse said earlier, it seems like the only people that are really giving, Somra one run for his money are Gojo and Sukuna. Although I will argue that Yorozu was still a decent discussion to be had because Yorozu was still actually did have a win con, even though it was only one win con. But let's see. But you know what? Let me see if there's people we can eliminate from the poll. Todo can be eliminated. Kusakabe can be eliminated. Nanami can be eliminated. Choso can be eliminated. We've already seen him fight Sukuna plenty of times, so I don't want to see another Sukuna come in. And we've already kind of put him up against Maharaga. So just reasonable fights. Oh, and we still got Sukuna on the screen. Damn, he's taking over. What's coming up? I see what you're saying, Waking. I understand what you're saying. I see what you're saying. But either way, we'll move on. Oro. Is Oro a genuine discussion here? Do we think Oro would actually have a way to beat Somra? I don't think so. I don't think Sky Manipulation would really present an issue to Somura at all. I mean, sure, Oro was going to be able to probably reach that city block to multi-city block attack potency. Oro is probably sitting on a similar scale, just based on the destruction we've seen her be able to throw out in the battle against Yuta. But the thing is the feathers are just going to blitz Oro. Somura is too fast. Even if you equalize speed, the Crow, Tobimune's Crow is just way faster than Oro can keep up with. Sky Manipulation, she won't be able to use any of her techniques in a way that Somura is even able to, worry about. I think Oro is just an easy victory. Oro is just an easy victory. Somura does hard counter, sadly. Just EI doesn't even need crows, just EI White Purity style. All right, come on. Okay, we've got Orame. What do we think about Orame? Is that a reasonable discussion? Obviously, slinging similar attack potency. If you wanna wank Orame up to lightning time, just based off of her being able to, him being able to fight. I always confuse Orame fucking whether it's a guy or a girl, and now I know it's got revealed that it's a guy, and I can't stop saying her. I'm sorry, I'm trying. I'm misgendering. I'm during Pride Month. Anyway, fucking Orame. Arame's I'm not, yeah. Orame, if you want to give them lightning time. Slinging with same attack potency, similar durability, similar speed. How does Ice compare to Crow and Suzaku? I mean, you've got a fire attacker going up against an ice attacker. Yeah, I usually say they, because I usually say it's they because it makes sense, but I'm pretty sure it was confirmed that it was a boy originally, and then they took a female incarnation. So I don't know what the fuck. It's whatever the fuck they want it to be. God damn it. I don't know. Talk to Orame. Ask them. Don't ask me. Ask Orame. I don't know what to tell you. Whatever the fuck they want to be called is whatever the fuck I'll call him. God damn it. Higuruma is a fun discussion. If he gets caught in a domain, considering the whole war thing probably doesn't end well for him. Yeah, Higuruma would probably be a fun discussion. You're probably right, Siegel. So like when it comes to ice, I guess like Orame could freeze an entire area and completely nullify all of the feathers in that entire vicinity. So while I guess Somura could, in theory, escape and use feathers that are outside of the vicinity of the ice, the big issue is going to be so basically close quarters is completely nullified for Somura in this instance. Close quarters has no chance of doing anything because anytime that Somura gets close, he's just going to get faced with ice. Now, I guess it just depends. What do you think takes precedence? Is Suzaku fire able to melt and just make Orame's ice useless? And if that's the case, Somura probably pretty much just wins. Can Somura break out of the ice, though? That's really what it comes down to. Like, is Suzaku overriding Orame's ice? And if that's the case, then yeah, Somura probably wins. The one thing that I'm definitely disappointed about is we never got to see any kind of domain expansion from Orame. I would have loved to have seen Orame have some type of ice domain expansion, simply because it would have made his kit a little bit better. Because honestly, don't get me wrong, having like multiple city block level ice sorcery is OP. I mean, we saw Orame be able to dispatch half a dozen pretty high level sorcerers in Shibuya very easily. So Orame is definitely strong. Did they get one punched and fucking shot out of the equation by Gojo? Yes. Is Gojo also the heaviest hitter in the entire series? Also yes. So Orame does have reverse curse technique, is able to heal. So they would be able to handle slash attacks, damage from Somura, and again, their durability and attack potency is of the same level. Ice is going to be very bad for Somura to handle because if he gets frozen, stuck, that's not going to be good. But seriously, I guess it really comes down to, do you think Suzaku's flames override Arame's ice, or is Arame's ice more potent and thicker than Somura's Suzaku? Because the problem with Somura having reverse curse technique, not having reverse curse technique, but having Suzaku, is because it's flames that literally just reverse the damage. There is not going to be any kind of issue with, like, you know, the ice freezing, you know, the arm, and, you know, reverse curse technique can't do anything about the arm, or Somura is not strong enough to break free of the ice. Like, if Suzaku melts the ice, Suzaku just completely overrides Arame, and it's a W. Arame can also use water. Well, Arame can basically freeze all the water in the vicinity and use it at his disposal. So when Hakari, you know, and Arame are fighting and they release the big plume and all of the underground sewer stuff starts flying out and shooting water everywhere, Arame is able to use that to freeze it and create a giant ice orb that basically follows him around the entire battle. That basically acts as, like, it's almost like if you were fighting against Gaara and Gaara has the big sand gourd with all of his sand. I would imagine it's pretty much very similar, where Arame is able to just basically mooch ice off of that giant ice ball that follows him around. Somura only lost to Yuta Gojo and Meguna so far, Inkmaster. He can get away from Arame, by the way, his TP works. Yes, definitely. So, yeah, even though all of his feathers would be frozen in the vicinity that Arame can freeze, Somura can still escape the vicinity and teleport and swap to a feather outside of the ice range. Again, the issue is that just basically eliminates close quarters as an option for Somura. Arame's probably just Ice Gojo, which sounds like a problem. I gotta throw this one to a poll here, because this one, honestly, it just depends on what you think, who you think's ability is stronger. Obviously, fire is gonna beat ice. You know, elemental wise, fire almost always beats ice. But this is anime, this is manga. We live in a fictional society and fighting system where, technically speaking, we have seen battles where ice becomes colder and too cold to be melted by fire. I have literally seen series where that happens. So I don't want to give Somura too much of a fire of the doubt. If Arame's ice is technically stronger than Somura's Suzaku, the ice might override the Suzaku. But it seems like with votes, Somura is going to be getting the win pretty easily here. Am I just yapping way too much for something that should be an easy discussion? Probably. And then after this one, I think the last and final fight, because I think Higuruma is a very good topic of discussion to have. So I'm gonna throw this one more minute to the poll. We got 10 votes in, 70% Somura, 30% Arame. Get your votes in. I'm gonna give it another 40 seconds before we close the polls and we move on to Higuruma as the final battle. It's really just due to Arame's sheer ambiguity. I completely agree. We just didn't get enough about Arame. We just didn't get enough about Arame. So we've got 14 votes so far. 71% from Somura, 73% for Somura, 27% for Arame. It is not looking good. Yeah, you know what? We're just gonna close that poll. That's a W for Somura over Arame. Suzaku's fire definitely beats the ice, and again, with no domain expansion, that's gonna be 110% a W for Somura. So yeah, he's clearing even Arame. He's clearing even Sukuna's lackey, which is OP as hell, in my honest opinion. Again, losing to Yuta Gojo, losing to Meguna, not a problem in my eyes. That is very much fine to me. Last but not least. Wait, Kenjaku, maybe we'll do this again. Maybe we'll do another gauntlet, but unfortunately, he didn't make the cut. He didn't get chosen. The big wheel did not choose him. Hey, Inkmaster, thank you so much for the dono. I appreciate the 5. I would love you to put Yuji Itadori against some Elden Ring bosses, honestly, or maybe Yuta Okotsu. Love these streams. Hey, Inkmaster, thank you so much for that. Honestly, that Elden Ring video I did where I'm putting anime MCs up against Elden Ring bosses was so much fun. And I'm excited to do the Sukuna villain gauntlet too that we said we're gonna do maybe next week. Putting Sukuna up outside of the verse and seeing how many characters he will be able to beat, I think will be such a good amount of fun. So yeah, I think that will be a really good time, and maybe we can do this again. So when it comes to Higuruma is a good matchup for Somura, not because of combat, because let's be honest, when it comes to throwing hands completely, Higuruma with the sword is much better than Somura with the sword is much better than Higuruma with the hammer or even the Executioner's blade. Where Somura versus Higuruma becomes an interesting discussion and an interesting topic is Higuruma's domain expansion Deadly Sentencing, because we already know how guilty Somura is when it comes to the deaths and destruction that he caused and was responsible for. So if he gets caught in the domain expansion, which Higuruma, having one of the fastest domains of all of the entire series, something that he breaks out at the beginning of every single fight, Somura will not be aware that this is what he's going after. Sure, you could definitely argue Somura could probably crow, teleport, and cut Higuruma's head off just as fast as he could Hirohiko. But let's suspend a little bit of doubt here and say that Deadly Sentencing does go off. I do see what a lot of people are arguing against, that, hey, he was fighting for his country, he was fighting for war, he didn't do anything illegal. Now, the issue would be is because he feels guilty for the deaths of the Seitei genocide, because he feels like he is responsible for what the Sword Saint did, and what the Sword Saint did was definitely illegal. You could argue that if Judgment does blame Somura for the deaths of the Seitei genocide, just as Judgment blamed Yuji for the deaths of Shibuya, even though technically the main person wasn't the person that did the killing, Somura being guilty would probably honestly do the exact same fucking thing that Yuji did. Yeah, Tiberius, he would do the exact same thing that Yuji did. He would look Higuruma dead in the eyes and he would say, yeah, I did that. I'm guilty of it. And then, of course, we already know that once you're trapped in Deadly Sentencing, you're not able to use any forced show of violence. So once he's stuck in the domain expansion, again, whether you believe that Crow is teleportation or high mobility movement, Somura cannot escape Deadly Sentencing. He is stuck inside of Deadly Sentencing no matter what. And if he is found guilty of genocide, I'm going to argue that Somura is going to get the death penalty. Confiscation is going to immediately remove all of Tobimune's abilities from Somura. Sure, you could argue it might only be one of the abilities. It might be Suzaku, and he might still have control over Crow and Owl. It might be Owl, and he might have control over yada yada. I would argue that confiscation probably takes away the entire enchanted blade, which means that Somura is going to be reduced to just a swordsman, and Higuruma will have the Executioner's blade, the Sword of Light, that is a one-tap touch and you're dead ability. However, the thing is with that is, even though we went through all of that and went through that entire discussion as to how Higuruma gets his guaranteed win con, unless Somura slips up and somehow accidentally grazes or touches the Executioner's blade on accident, EI White Purity style is going to be an instant W for Somura. Because even though the sword doesn't have any supernatural abilities, we've seen how deadly Somura can be without Tobimune. Somura and even Aruha, of all people, were the perfect examples of how war veterans like the Enchanted Wielders are still deadlier and can rival Enchanted Blade Wielders even without an Enchanted Blade of their own. So even though Somura can't crow his way to Higuruma and decapitate him, he can just EI White Purity style his way to Higuruma and decapitate him. As long as Somura is able to dodge the Sword of Light, then there should be no issue whatsoever about winning that battle. There should just be no problems. Higuruma doesn't have the speed, he doesn't have the combat experience, and he doesn't have the... Obviously, you could argue that Higuruma can reverse curse technique himself. Higuruma can also use domain amplification to turn his sword on and off. Which, like, sure, Higuruma might be able to outplay, like, turn his sword off and then turn it on, and sure, Somura's blind. So, Higuruma using a Sword of Light that probably has no weight, no sound, no nothing as he waves it through the air. If Somura isn't able to detect the sword through like Bloodlust or through Spirit Energy or Echolocation, he could again be accidentally hit by the sword. I don't want to make it sound like Somura is like incapable of dying in this scenario. However, it's very unlikely. I'll put my money on Somura every day before I take fucking Somura accidentally walking into the Sword of Light. Unless it's a Higuruma Yuji combo where Higuruma tosses the Sword of Light to Yuji and Yuji catches Somura off guard, I think it's very clear that Somura is going to win that battle. I think it's pretty clear Somura is going to win that battle. Of all domains that Somura gets trapped in and is stuck in and quite literally can't do anything about to escape from, and one that takes away his enchanted blade, unfortunately, it goes to a character that is just never going to be able to match up to Somura combat-wise. Can you use Purity Style without Spirit Energy? I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure you're literally charging up and releasing all of your Spirit Energy in one quick shot. So, no, I don't think you can use Purity Style as efficiently without Spirit Energy. I mean, sure, yeah, I guess you could, but at the same time, you know, you're not getting rid of Spirit Energy, you're just getting rid of the technique. Yuji only lost his energy because he didn't have a curse technique to steal. So most likely all Somura would lose would be the abilities in the sword. He wouldn't lose his Spirit Energy entirely. Somura does still have traditional EI techniques. Yeah, even without EI White Purity Style, I still think Somura is pretty easily low diffs Higuruma, without a doubt. And Jesse, I know you said you wanted me to do Geto. I mean, Geto 100% curse thing. I mean, I guess really the only discussion is, you know, if Somura is just gonna get overwhelmed by grade 1 and potentially special grade curses. I would honestly argue that Somura would probably lose, whether it was Geto or Kenjaku. If you give Kenjaku with a domain expansion, sure, it's an open barrier, but Geto and Kenjaku with 100%, like 8,000 curse spirits all released at once. Nah, I said Gojo. Oh, I thought I saw Geto. Well, either way, I was just gonna say quick little thing. I think that's kind of it's Somura might lose that. Honestly, Somura might lose if he gets overwhelmed. We saw him get overwhelmed by Hirohiko, but again, that was also Somura hit by a Genjutsu. So unless Geto or Kenjaku is able to effectively use a curse spirit that's able to throw Somura's senses off entirely, like with Kuchisaki Ona's domain, or something like that, and then also hit him with another curse spirit that actually kills him or does enough damage to him that he can't Suzaku himself back, yeah, I think Somura could probably beat Geto. But again, it just depends on what curse spirits he has and what techniques you want to give Geto in that battle. But Somura would lose, but curses have curse energy, which means Somura could sense their spirit energy and bloodlust. Yeah, and also having Crow and the ability to have Owl cover an entire country, it's not like he can't take the battle over a large area. Like, Somura could literally teleport back and forth from Kyoto and Tokyo during, you know, the Night of 100 Demons parade. He could literally solo all of Geto himself. And add Suzaku into that, he could literally firebomb whole sections of the city and then just restructure it once all the curse spirits are dead. You know what? I'm slowly convincing myself that Somura would probably beat Geto the more and more I talk about this. If Geto gets off an Uzumaki, it's wraps. Yep, the thing is with Somura's speed, it's very debatable if Geto would be able to get an Uzumaki off. You do have Kenjaku that is able to just spam with mini Uzumakis, so that is a good possibility, but that also requires much more precision and accuracy and getting a lot more closer quarters, which, again, you know, Kenjaku's a pretty good hand-to-hand merchant. He was said to be only second to Gojo when it came to melee combat. But with the speed advantage, Kenjaku is definitely the tougher battle. And anti-gravity. And anti-gravity and gravity, that's also important to mention. Kenjaku with the gravity, that might single-handedly be enough to give him advantage over Somura, because then Somura just literally cannot come close to him. And if Somura tries to, you know, do a finishing blow, teleports right next to Kenjaku, and then Kenjaku anti-gravities him, Somura's stuck in the gravity. He might still be able to swap out, but that still slows him down enough for Kenjaku to land a hit. Now you could argue Yuta was still able to catch Kenjaku off guard and slice his head off before the anti-gravity took effect, so Somura's speed might still let him decapitate Kenjaku, but yeah, that's a much, you know, it's still a tough fight regardless, because Somura would need to use a lot of his energy. It'd be very similar to Somura fighting in the Seitei War as he did all those years ago. He'd have to muster that exact same level of strength for a character like Geto or Kenjaku with their curse spirit manipulation. So I guess you would have to argue, would peak Geto, is peak Somura enough for Geto and Kenjaku? I guess that all comes down to how strong you believe peak, you know, these two characters are at their peak. So I guess as the final question in the stream before we call it, let's ask that. Let's just use Kenjaku, because we'll just use all-out curse spirit manipulation user, the best of the best with gravity. Who's winning, Somura or Kenjaku? Who's coming in at the final battle of this gauntlet? Can Somura end Kenjaku and save the world of Jujutsu Kaisen from the merger and the culling game? Yeah, I definitely agree. I think sneaking Kenjaku because of the speed difference, similar to the way Yuta did, is a possibility for a win condition. I think Gojo just beats Somura, obviously, especially when you include Infinity, Unlimited Void, the way that he's much better at using Limitless than Yuta is. I think if we're already saying that Somura is just barely, high diff losing to Yuta Gojo, he's definitely losing to Gojo, without a doubt. Especially when you consider 0.2 domain. Gojo can just quick activate his domain much faster than Yuta can. We did do Somura versus Meguna and Three Fingers Sukuna earlier in the stream, David, if you want to go back in the VOD. I think Somura has an advantage over someone like Maki just because Somura can use the Crow and Suzaku. He's got fire manipulation on top of his already devastating attack potency that can keep up with someone like Maki and Toji. And you add in the Crow with Tobimune, I think that just gives him the advantage that a character like Maki and Toji would eventually lose to through attrition. And also, again, even if you give Toji and Maki the ability to get like a good shot, a decapitation or a lethal blow on Somura, where Somura can use Suzaku and heal, Maki and Toji can, just barely, recover. You don't think she'd be able to sense where he can swap to? I mean, the thing is Somura's much faster. Even if she can swap, he's still swapping much faster than she can keep up with. Even if she can be there 1 to 2 seconds after he swaps, he's still moving at a faster pace. We're 50-50 on Somura versus Kenjaku, which is crazy. There definitely are still really good fights that could be had. Like, I see a bunch of people, making, questions for Kashimo with Mythical Beast Amber. That's a really, really good potential question, really good potential fight. You also have, Heian Sukuna and 15 Finger Sukuna that might be good fights. There are other options that, are genuinely decent fights for, Hikari, Yuta, Kurorushi, Jogo, if you want to add in the Curse Spirits, Mahito, Jogo, Dagon, Hanami. I can do this again. I would be more than willing to do this again. It's just, yeah, these are just the people that he hit on the gauntlet. But, maybe next time he spins the wheel, he might do a better job. Yeah, part 2 indeed. Five-hour gauntlet stream. Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe that's what the people want. Somura just doesn't have anything Kenjaku hasn't seen before and can't plan around. Yeah, I definitely see that. All right, guys, couple more seconds left to the poll. Get your votes in. It is close. 30 seconds left. 56 to 44. Kenjaku is winning. Somura fans. Actually, I was just talking about this, David. We're gonna do the Sukuna wheel next week. I was just talking about this. We're gonna do the Sukuna wheel next week. Promise you. A versus gauntlet would be dope. Yeah. Definitely doing like a double wheel gauntlet, if that's what you're saying. The wheel is legendary. The wheel is legendary. All right, y'all. The votes are in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Kenjaku comes out as the winner here. 57% of the votes out of 21 votes. 42% say Somura. So it's definitely a somewhat close battle. It's not an easy victory for Kenjaku to get. I definitely see win conditions on hand for both characters. Yeah, Kenjaku barely gets a W, which, hey, you can't complain about. You cannot complain about. His win-loss is probably closer to, I believe, 11-3. I think it was. I think it ended up being 11-3. which is not bad at all. But next time we do Somura, we can definitely see. I'll only leave the people that didn't get picked. So Yuta, Hikari, Kashima, all the people that you guys are asking for, I think, genuinely speaking, are still really good discussions to have. So I think we can definitely talk about them next stream. But I had a really fun time doing this, guys. Somura actually did a really, really good amount of fucking damage to the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. Only losing to Kenjaku, Meguna, and Yuta Gojo. Pff, crazy. What happened to the Denji versus the MC Wheel? Denji versus MC Wheel had to take that down, unfortunately. But it is what it is. You know, we move on. Unfortunately, that VOD had to get taken down. But we move on and we persevere. Guys, I think we've done everything we can. The GOAT, our blind GOAT, has proven better than every character we've done on the gauntlet wheel before. So Kagurabachi fans can rest easy knowing that their GOAT is still the GOAT. Again, only losing to Meguna, Yuta Gojo, and Kenjaku, the top echelons of Jujutsu Kaisen's verse. That's not a bad way to go out on this gauntlet. So I just want to say thank you all so much for hanging out with me during another one of these gauntlet streams. Next, if you enjoy these, next week we're gonna do another one. We're gonna do Sukuna fighting the Wheel of Villains, a bunch of villains in a bunch of different animes, and seeing how strong Sukuna ends up being outside his own verse, and if Sukuna can defeat any other major villains from any other major anime. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. Look out for that. Of course, as you guys know, members, if you are free on Wednesday night, just know, members, we do read-throughs together, little book clubs for Tokyo Ghoul Re. So on Wednesday night, we will be reading Tokyo Ghoul Re, and we will hopefully be finishing the 24th Ward Raid arc, which will be a lot of fun. I'm excited to finish this goddamn arc. I've been loving how this arc is turning out. And on Friday, I've got a fun little idea for Friday, so tune in for Friday as well. Friday Fun Day. And as always, you can always count on Shonen Sundays in the morning. I think I'm going to do something fun. I think I'm going to do something fun on Wednesday too. Hey, we got a buzzer beater, 5 gifted members from China. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry you just showed up at the end of stream. I apologize for that, but what a buzzer beater. What a way to show love. I know. I hate it. I hate that we just missed you. I feel bad. I'm going to do a secret stream. Don't tell anyone. I'm going to do a secret stream on Twitch, I think on Wednesday. I think it might be. Don't count on it. Don't guarantee it. But I think on Wednesday, I'm going to do a secret stream. And I want to finish Devil May Cry, the Netflix series. So I think on Wednesdays, we're going to do some watch-along streams on Twitch. Don't quote me. Don't quote me on that. So yeah, check that out. Gamersubs.gg/noop. 10% off Gamersubs. And I will see you guys on Wednesday. I'll see you guys on Wednesday for the Tokyo Ghoul restream if you're a member, and I'll see you on Friday. Thoughts on the Megan Thee Stallion's new anime? I did not fucking hear about that whatsoever. I didn't hear about that at all. That's something I gotta check out. Tiberius, thank you for the buzzer beater. Dono as well, thank you for the 2. Said Shion over Samura. You know what? Honestly, Shion is the OG. Oh, my OG blind swordsman. So I agree with that, Tiberius. I completely, I'll get behind that. Shion over Somura all day, every day. He's the original. He's the original blind daddy. All right, all right, y'all. Sending nothing but love. Spirit energy goes out to you guys. Have a good rest of your Monday, whether it's Monday afternoon, whether it's morning, afternoon, or night. Sending you that spirit bomb energy, and I'll catch you guys on Wednesday for members, Friday for the next stream. Peace.